Hey you guys, and welcome back to the Board Game Critic. I'm here with you today to look at a card game called Khedu. I was sent this copy of Khedu by the makers, so I don't believe it has affected my opinion of the game at all. So I will try and give you an honest review of what I think of it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. The subscribers really help a lot so that you'll see when new content comes out. It also helps me be able to produce more content. Khedu is a 2 to 4 player kind of head-to-head battling game where you are racing the other players to create what the game calls relics. Relics are obtained by defeating other warriors either in the wilds or the champions of other players. Each time you defeat somebody in the wild or one of your opponent's champions, you will be awarded focus, and focus can then be transferred into these relics. Now the game plays in about 30 to 50 minutes, and there are some really interesting parts about this game. There are a couple things that don't speak to me personally, and I'll try and go through those. One thing that I do really appreciate about the game is the artwork. Overall, the artwork is very well done. You can see from the box just some really stunning stuff. Great artwork. It's a fun, small, compact box. There are some graphic design elements that I'm not completely on board with, which I've talked to the makers and they say that they'll probably be changing. So the font choice is a little bit difficult to read, a little busy looking. The illustrations I'm totally on board with. Some of the graphic design choices, not so much on board with. Art is usually the first thing that I jump to if you know me. Second thing that I really appreciate about the game is there are some really unique elements that don't feel like are common in other games. In order to attack a unit, you have to discard a certain number of cards in your hand, which makes it a little bit more of a weighty decision, and holding back some of your cards in order to prepare for future onslaughts is a pretty big deal. We played with 2 people. I have not played this with 4 people yet, but I do think it will probably play better with more people. Having different targets, being able to assume that people won't attack you would make it a little bit more interesting in my mind. However, as a 2 to 2 head-to-head card game, it does serve its purpose. Let's move to a couple things that I don't love about the game. The battle mechanics are extremely random. You have spells that can push things one way or the other that can kind of help augment your attacks. However, when it comes down to it, you just roll the dice. Now this rolling of dice destroyed me in a game. I mean, I was making very conservative safe attacks and just losing all over the place. A loss in this game is particularly crushing because what it does is you basically are defeated and the focus that was gained from your creature goes on to another creature. So for an example, I had a pretty powerful champion and I was attacking a relatively weak person in the wilds, and just because of horrible rolls, I lost. My champion, who awards a ton of focus, goes onto this very weak creature, and since my opponent goes next, they basically get a 2-for-1. Now, I don't think it's a flaw in the balance of the game. It's just something you need to understand from a gameplay perspective that you may not appreciate. I don't appreciate dice a ton anyway. I also am not a huge fan of head-to-head card games. So this game may not be the one for me. However, a specific person may very much enjoy the more random aspect to the battling. That it's a little bit less about let's think hard about this and the deep strategy, and it's a little bit more about just, you know what, let's sling some spells around, let's just see how things shake up. Another thing that was a little bit difficult for me, and that the makers once again have assured me that they're working on, the rules were a little bit difficult to digest. The order of information and stuff like that was a little bit difficult. However, online they have plenty of resources to view the game other than just their rulebook. I hope their rulebook does change and adapt, and take note of the date at which this was uploaded. Overall, I give Khedu 3 out of 6 pips. It's not going to be my favorite game. It doesn't appeal that much to my playstyle personally. It does seem like it's decently balanced and designed, and one that I am interested in keeping my eye on, especially since it seems like they're in active development and changing some of the things about it. The theme, I think they hit right on. It's a great theme, but there are just a couple barriers for me personally. Head-to-head card games, like I mentioned, aren't my absolute favorite. Then you have the dice that just randomize it so much. Like you can just have a 1 to a 6 is just a huge range when you're getting into kind of these competitive strategy type games. So overall, keep an eye on it. If you think anything that I've said appeals to you, go try it. They seem like a great company and they seem like they're doing great work. Like I said, the production value of this is looking really nice. And I don't know if it's going to Kickstarter, if they're selling it direct from their website right now, but the website is, I'll put it down here, www.kheducg.com. Khedu is spelled, if you can't, I don't even know if you can read that, Khedu, Khedu. Thank you so much for your time, and I will catch you on the next review.